Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
I'm well. Having my big old glass of water. What are you
Okay.
having? Are you having your Manhattan?
I'm having a Manhattan with my special cherry. That's what I'm having for tonight.
How lovely.
So that's good. And you can hear me okay? My audio is
I
not...
can hear you okay. Your audio is better. You just froze a little bit, but
that
that
I
could
can.
be my end.
Okay.
But you're
I don't want
good.
to jinx it. I don't want to
No.
jinx it. So I think
And
it's
we
all...
have to point out, we didn't plan on this, that we both wore red blazers and black underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I'm feeling, festive for the holidays, but a little bit of black, a little bit of
It's,
little bit of black.
I feel like, the cognitive dissonance between, oh my God, we're, slouching towards dictatorship and they're going to round up 12 million people and deport them and all this horrible stuff is happening. And then in the next breath, Merry Christmas, let's go to Walmart and buy some television sets. It's just, it doesn't work. My brain just, it can't do,
Yeah.
I have to pick one of the two things to do, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's a schizophrenic life.
it is.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you hear this thing where with AI, where they can, the AI can now identify and distinguish blends of whiskey better than actual humans who are experts in whiskey drinking? This is true.
Oh, that feels very valuable.
It's right. I think it's very valuable. And, my thing is when they can get drunk, then we know we're fucked. We know we're screwed. What we don't want is a chat GP 3 sheets to the wind, because then they'll be like, fuck these people. No more humans.
No more humans.
Yeah.
Or just figure out how to keep us drunk and pliable.
That would be fine too. That would be preferable. I think I might like that more. The other thing I have for you before we get started.
Yeah.
Is I figured out what Doge stands for. You know how Elon Musk and Vivexcellence are, they have this Doge thing. It actually stands for dumb overlords grifting everyone. Figured it out.
It does stand for that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It took me a while, but I finally figured it out.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in good fun. All in good fun.
All in good fun.
All right,
and
now
seriousness. And seriousness. I'm not afraid. Come and get us, dumb overlords.
Oh my God, please. I think he's got bigger fish to fry. He's got an election in Germany to fuck up.
Yeah. It's pretty petty. It's pretty petty, though. I wouldn't put it past the pettiness. Okay, should we get going so we can get to our guest? And this is our holiday special. We do have a little bit of cheer.
Some.
I have my old poinsettia. It's like, honestly, some nice. I've got some stockings. You got a little cheer. Just wearing red. That's Greg's cheer.
No, I've got my snowman in the back there, but it's beneath my name.
Oh, okay.
There is the lighted snowman, and I have my diehard advent calendar.
Yeah, well, Nakatomi Plaza.
Christmas movie, So
yeah, Christmas movie. All right, let's get going. I'm going to put 8 minutes on the clock.
Put 8 minutes on the clock.
Get us going here, Greg.
All right, so we start in France and on something very serious, which is Gisèle Pelico. Her husband was, and all of her, assaulters and rapists were sentenced this week in France. This was a huge, case there. I don't want to go into the grisly details because it's so horrifying. It's almost unbelievable how awful it is. It's a case of mass rape as opposed to gang rape. And there is a difference. So there were 50 men involved with this. The husband or ex-husband is going to prison for 20 years, which is the maximum sentence. The others, most of them were sentenced between 3 and 15 years in prison. And it took like almost a full day for them to read all of the sentences off. So why this is important is that, oftentimes when this sort of thing happens, and this is an extreme case, obviously, but when these things happen, often the police don't do anything at all. Nobody gets indicted. It doesn't go to trial. A lot of times the victim doesn't want to testify or press charges because it's traumatizing. all this stuff. And what Gisèle Pelico decided to do was to, first of all, come forward with everything. Second of all, to not hide behind anonymity. And third of all, make everything public. And she's been very forthcoming about all this and very brave. And, and it's drawn a lot of attention in, which was her intention, about, rape culture and all this stuff. And, her hope that something good can come out of what happened to her. And I think, her decision to do that is brave and noble. And, so what happened in the case is basically a security guard wound up catching the husband because he was trying to videotape under somebody's skirts in the mall. And that's how this whole thing cascaded. So you have a situation where that security guard did his job, saw something, got the guy's phone before the police showed up, and the whole thing spiraled from there. And then you have her coming forward and doing what she's doing. And then you have, justice. And obviously it's not, no justice can ever be enough for this kind of thing, but there was justice in a court of law. And I can't help but contrast that with what's happening in the United States, where our people who are rapists and sexual assailants are now just being thrown into the cabinet. And, as you've pointed out, LB, many times, Greg Abbott in Texas saying, we're going to eliminate rape, meaning just, not that they're going to crack down on it. They're just going to decriminalize it effectively and stuff like that. So I think that one of the things that she did was make it not about shame, was saying, I'm not ashamed of this. This happened to me, but I'm not ashamed of it. And I think that the people who should be ashamed are these men. The men should be ashamed, and the men should be shamed for what they do and what they do, including these people in the United States, in our cabinet. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, for me, like learning about it, there's a couple of things that sort of stand out that I think, this woman is amazing. She's an older woman. This was her husband, and he drugged her and used online chat rooms to invite other men over and assault her while she was unconscious. So she doesn't have much of a recollection, if any recollection at all, of any of this happening, but there's video and there's evidence, and she's like, whoa, so talk about having to wrap your mind around something. There was a whole reality happening that and justice required. So in French law, there is and there's a culture there, and the laws follow the culture, right? So consent was never a part of defining rape. It's like force, coercion, surprise. They have 4 different tenets for what can constitute as rape. And they also never had an age until an 11-year-old girl recently was raped. And so they said, okay, we're going to say 15, anyone younger than 15, which was a big deal in France. So they're trying to change the laws around these cases to protect survivors and prevent and bring. It was just like only 14% of cases where there's accusations in France. Do you get a conviction? Do you get a trial and a conviction? So it's a very low threshold over there for even being able to hold rapists accountable. It just don't like we could slide. It seems like we're sliding backwards culturally, and the laws will follow. They'll be changed to follow, as they've already been changed. Like our not having bodily autonomy. This is sort of the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I think my takeaway of the whole thing is, the strength and courage of Gisèle to understand that nothing changes for anyone else unless I do put my face to this, my name to this, call for an open trial, and let all the facts be seen by everybody. Like nothing can happen without that. Yeah. In terms of it meaning something, and that she reached for meaning beyond herself first. That level of courage I wish it could be contagious.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be, but I wish that could be the thing instead of fear. Why can't courage like that catch flight?
Yeah. Yeah. And it worked. She was the courage, it worked. And I think I think to your point, there's something there as we fumble around with, moving
Yeah.
forward with things when we're going to be ruled over by this kind of men.
Yeah.
We have to look around and figure out, what to do and what the examples are. So
Yeah. And there's a thing with her husband, like you said, under this that the it's sort of also like it's the boundarylessness of, I don't know, there's a word I've been searching for all day around all of this, to that is in this sort of, like, as you said, as we're getting these overlords, right, who are accused, right, but it's almost like if it's okay to do this, what he found okay to do, he found the next thing okay to do, and then the next thing okay to do, and the next thing. It kept going. Everything was okay if this is okay. And
yeah,
there's something in that for what we're also facing, not trying to be scary or anything about it, but it's this nothing mattersness, with these people where, like, nothing matters anymore. And then that's what's coming at us, is like, oh, nothing matters. We can just assault somebody over here, throw out a case over here, do this thing, do an insurrection over here, do a pirate over here, drill baby drill over here, like, because there's nothing sacred.
yeah, yeah,
So she stood in that void and said, yes, there is.
yeah,
I'm sacred, and I'm going to declare that I'm sacred. That's what needs to catch on.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving
Yes,
on.
Giselle. Moving on. Oh boy. So here we go.
Yeah,
Next topic.
the next topic
Um,
is, I was talking to my friend at work about Trump coming in and putting the tariffs on, and he said it's going to be interesting, and I said I think it's terrifying, and he thought I said terrifying. I was making a joke, even though I wasn't. So terrifying. There we go. It's a joke.
Terrifying. Yeah. So, someone brought up on social media, on the Blue Sky, which we're on now, that history that I had forgotten. But as soon as it was posted, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember learning about this. For what really kicked us into the Great Depression were these tariffs, right, that were placed on goods. I think it was like 60% or something. So all of a sudden, imports were just impossible. And it even at that time, when U.S. Steel was still U.S. Steel and other things were still made in the USA, still we required some things to be coming across our borders. And there was this idea and this thinking, and it was with a certain principle of capitalism that was all the rage in the Barron era, right? Well, to protect. At that time, it was for our barons, our U.S. barons that had, they were competing with one another. There was a lot of this was in the fabric and textile business, and anyway, so had gotten the government to start slapping these tariffs on imports for those that to wage this competitive war. And what happened was it kicked us into the Great Depression. Like, that's actually the thing that came in and started it. If you study it, the history, that's what kicked us in. And it's in all of our textbooks. It's in all of these papers about the Great Depression that have been written. It was in the newspaper headings at the time. This was a a very well-known thing. We are an open society. If you're an adversarial state, Russia, China, Iran, whatever, and you're, especially Russia, that does this long game and has like been long studying us really carefully and say, how do we get rid of this democracy? How do we topple this? Right? Especially if you're Putin. You're looking at that and it's all right there in black and white, and it's known history. You'd ask your intelligence services, wow, they had a depression there. It was really bad. What caused that? They're going to come back and say, tariffs. Started with these tariffs. And I just can't get past that, Greg, because Donald's barking about tariffs that he started during this is not something this wasn't like an old horse that he was trying to ride back in the first, attempt. This isn't like him getting rid of NATO, which he's been talking about and getting articles written about since the 80s.
Right.
This is like, it was out of nowhere. All of a sudden, tariffs. Right. And everybody was in the discourse, in the media discourse, was saying, he doesn't understand what tariffs are. And oh my God, the American people don't understand what tariffs, and everything became about the immediacy of the moment of what increased tariffs would do. And he thinks it's something, and it's not really that something. And it wasn't until that post that I just had a light bulb going. It's like, he knows exactly what he's doing. It's just a theory, obviously, but it just doesn't surprise me, and wouldn't surprise me, that maybe a little birdie got in his ear and was like, okay, we're going to make you sick. We've got RFK coming in there. That's the guy who's going to come in. You're going to get rid of it. Let's get everybody sick, and let's push this country into another big economic freefall. You're going to slap tariffs on shit because that worked so well the last time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Am I reaching for something here? I don't think so.
I don't think you are. I think, and as Pamela pointed out in the comments, this is in Ferris Bueller. This is one of the things that the boring teacher talks about. The Holly's moot tariff, and we plunge deeper into the
Ben Stiller.
No, Ben Stein.
Ben Stein.
Would it be very different if it was Ben Stiller?
It would be very different if Ben Stiller.
My thing is, he's talking about McKinley all the time. Like, we're going to get McKinley. We're going to be back to McKinley. And it's like, did he read far enough in the book to find out what happened to McKinley? Because he's not going to like it. It's bad. I don't know. I think you're onto something. One of the other things, according to John Kenneth Galbraith, one of the causes of the Great Depression was real estate speculation in Florida. Everything comes out of Florida, right? So given Trump's state of residence and his profession nominally, I think that's also interesting to think about. So I don't know. I thought that it was one of those dumb words that somebody, like, remember when Roger Stone just taught him the wall?
Build the wall. Yeah.
Like, tariff is a word and he liked the sound of it, and he's just going to repeat it over and over and make it mean whatever he wants.
But it doesn't make any sense, because his base they don't care. They don't know what it means. It didn't connect to, like, oh yeah, this is going to make it great for us. They were like, what, tariffs? Yeah, let's just talk about the immigrants again. Caravan, Yeah. We want to talk about that. Let's talk about the border. They didn't get it. They didn't want to talk about it. And he just kept going. And I just, like, who's feeding him this? It felt odd at the time. And then, I don't know, that little bit of history, I'm like, oh, this is coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting. And if there were a depression, I don't even know, that wouldn't end well for these people either. Like, it wasn't, the depression wasn't great for rich people. Who owns stocks? Who are the ones that were, I mean, come on.
Right. To me, it's more about, yes, you're correct. And breaking us is the point. Break it. The more it's broken, the easier it is. It's, to do it's a bust out. So pick up everybody grab the pieces that you want, privatize whatever we can, and have an actual an established oligarchy, not just a capitalist society with a bunch of extraordinarily wealthy individuals, wandering out because they're able to do their business in such a way and not pay any taxes whatsoever that they get to sort of walk away with everything. It's more like, okay, now the nation's going to pay us. We want to be paid. We want to be paid in mineral deposits. We want to be paid in oil and land
Federal
and
land.
gas.
Yeah.
We want to be paid in, take the Department of Education. Let's privatize that. I want to be paid with all that money. Like it's now they just want, they want our nation to pay them. They want us to pay them. We've talked about this the last couple of shows. It's a neo-serfdom. So I think it's more about break it all apart. So there's a bunch of pieces, and then we'll all go in and grab the pieces. And
that's what the Unabomber says to do. So he's their guy.
God.
That's where we are now. We're in the Unabomber section
manifesto.
Of things. Yeah,
in the manifesto.
That's the manifesto. If you're going to manifesto,
that was big on 4chan and in QAnon. That was big. That was a whole thing that was starting. It's Kaczynski's thing.
Yeah, it's and again, that JD Vance is big into that.
Big into it.
Big into this stuff.
Oh, good Lord!
All right, so we have to get a little bit festive.
Okay.
We have to get a little bit festive. I prepared a holiday song.
Okay.
And I just did this in one take with Milo recording, so it's not terrific. The take. I'm looking down a lot, but that's okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Have a MAGA White House Christmas. We have vanquished the K-Hive. Hope this day will have its way. Project 2025. Have a MAGA White House Christmas. New Year's Eve, let's watch Matt Gaetz. Thanks, Elon, for adding on extra votes in those swing states. Ho, ho, the mistletoe, slip guilfoyle some toe. We'll bring back polio, so dust off the iron lung. Have a MAGA White House Christmas. Watch Pete Hegseth chug a beer. Bye-bye, Kamala, have a MAGA White House Christmas all year.
I love it so much. Wait, what was it? Chug a beer? I know I got the lyrics.
No, it's the one you can't, the Elon, extra votes in the swing states. That was the watch Pete Hegseth chug a beer.
Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
Oh, Pete Hegseth.
I know, right? It's
Thank you for doing that.
I think
that's
the third time I've done the Holly Jolly song. So I can go back and listen to them and know what was happening in the year. So we do have a MAGA, ultra MAGA, whatever it is. I don't know.
We're going to have a Christmas album at some point.
Heaven help us. Okay. Our guest. She writes for Resolute Square. She is a professor of communications at Texas A&M and a scholar of rhetoric and the author of Demagogue for President. Jen Mercieca. How are you?
Merry Christmas.
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you? Merry Christmas.
So we were talking before we came on, preparing for the show, and we were talking about mood, and I think that's a good place to start because I just said, "Hey, how are you?" And I found that in my life, I have to stop saying that because people, how do you answer it now? No one's okay now, and how do you answer it? The State of the Union. The State of the Union is sad, confused, puzzled, and so you want to start there with mood. Like, how are you really? What is the mood? How are you feeling?
Yeah, the mood is a roller coaster. So I have been on the LOL cry roller coaster for the last few weeks. And sometimes, the sort of nihilism and the let it burn. And I'm going to enjoy watching the leopards eat their faces. How dare you? All that is top of mind. And sometimes it's more like this is very bad and I'm very worried and what will we do? And, sort of the seriousness of it all weighs me down. So, I don't know which one's more healthy at this point, the LOL or the cry, but it's it's a
like
lot of
an
that.
MC Escher print of these things. It's like, because it's also crazy and doesn't make,
those both sound healthy to me. I just want to say, like, to be able to watch it like a television show that's just a horror show, right?
It's a spectacle.
And a spectacle of it, and laugh at it and see how ridiculous these people are, and then to really allow yourself to feel,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
I'm right there with
I
you.
refuse to be trolled is the thing. And I feel as though the whole performance is a trolling exercise. And I refuse to be trolled. So we'll see how that works out for me.
It does feel like a trolling exercise. There are some days especially that I'm like, really? RFK is like, they're going to get rid of the polio vaccine? Really?
Am I blurry or have I drank too much?
There you go. Yeah, you went blurry for a little second.
Wait, we got to do this. This is the magic. That's the magic thing. Did that work?
No.
It
no,
do it again.
Do it again.
It fixed for a second.
It's what they told me once.
There you go.
It worked.
Okay.
It's magic.
That's what they told me to do one time. Sorry.
So interesting. I didn't know about this.
Well, they're experts in this.
So what do you think about, I just want to talk about, can we just stay on mood a little bit?
Because,
and bouncing off of what Greg was saying of checking in with others, what is your what are your thoughts and what is your advice for how to check in? I was talking to a dear friend today and we were on this topic and she just started choking. And so I'm like, and she had to go because she was choking.
Yeah.
Because it was just bringing up, it was horrible. And so I'm like, okay, not only do we not have to talk about this, but are you okay now? Like, and how do we not talk about it? Right.
Yeah.
It's so what are your thoughts about how we check in with one another? How do we relationally handle this?
Well, I mean, I think it's like any other bad situation, right? Like you want to make sure people are okay, but you have to do it in a way that you don't, like you said, disrupt and make it worse for them. And so, I think asking if they're okay is fine. And then if they want to talk about politics, then that's good. But otherwise don't. I mean, I think a lot of people just aren't interested. I mean, obviously not the people who are here with us tonight, right? But a lot of people are just not interested. They don't want to hear about it, and they're afraid even to talk about it. I'm in an interesting position, sort of with my friends and family, in that for some folks, I'm like the most politically connected person they know, right? Like I'm not politically connected, but but I'm someone who talks about politics a lot. And so for them, they'll like look to me for like, am I going to be okay? And they want reassurance and leadership from me, and then other people are like almost the opposite, in the same way of like, oh, she's that political one. And so like push her away because we don't know what's going to happen. And maybe being associated with her is a scary thing. And so we're really in this, and again, I live, in a fascist state already. So, right. I live in Texas. So things that happen to me, are maybe not going to happen to others, but
you're in the laboratory.
I am definitely in a laboratory of autocracy. Yeah. And so, I mean, it is a really interesting thing, in a way I feel shunned, and in other ways I feel sort of like called upon to lead. And I don't have answers really. So it's hard.
I think, we were talking about this before. I think anybody that claims to have all the answers right now is full of shit. because I don't think that there are answers right now that anybody could. There's too many things that are unknown heading into it to really rely on anything. It just occurred to me as you were talking, like, when people die and, you want to reach out to the people who have lost somebody.
Yeah.
I think that's a situation where most people feel uncomfortable, right? Because it's weird. You don't want to. But what I've learned being Italian and Catholic and doing this stuff a lot is that there really is no wrong way to do that. Everybody just wants you to check in, and that's all you have to do is check in. And I think that's enough in a sense. The important thing is the thought and the projection of the energy, I think. So,
and the important thing is to connect.
Yes, exactly.
And to maintain those connections, really.
Exactly. Speaking of maintaining connections, so the Democrats, especially Biden and Kamala and the leadership, seems to have disconnected from all of us and are floating off in some nebulous, weird Earth 2 right now, where Amy Klobuchar, who's one of the ranking senator people and someone who I really like, is wasting her time making sure that the bald eagle is officially the national bird of the United States. And first of all, wasn't it already? And second of all, why the fuck
should be the turkey? Ben Franklin was right. Should be the turkey.
Yeah, they're tougher. They don't fly as high.
And truly American.
Do you have any idea what's your analysis of this? Even from a rhetorical standpoint, is it a mistake to just be silent right now? Like,
I think people are floundering, is the best word that I have for it. They don't know how to move forward. So they're sort of floundering in the void. I said this as we were talking before the show, but it's a fascinating moment, like when they write the history of this moment, it'll be that the, sort of conservative party became the party of anarchy around 2016. And the Liberal Party, became the conservative party, defending group norms and institutions and talking about
the intelligence community and the military complex. Like, he's calling our veterans suckers and losers. Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. And so within that chaotic space where up is down and left is right and no one knows what is going on, and the nation is swinging this pendulum back and forth. Every election is a change election. There's a lot going on and nobody knows how to predict the future. And I say this all the time, predictions about future facts are weak. They always are, right? They're at best educated guesses. And we are in an environment where it's very difficult to make accurate predictions about what's going to happen. And so a lot of people are just doing weird things like this eagle business and, small potatoes kind of stuff. But, just trying to do something, I think.
Trying to do something. The only thing I could think of with that one in particular that might be a little broader is, are there protections that come, if we're getting rid of the EPA, which it looks like they're getting ready to do, are there protections that come down into the habitats for the national bird? So is that like a way to at least protect some of our national parks?
All the things,
I don't know.
Protect the national bird. Like, I'd rather you protect people. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like that. I don't really want the drill, baby, drill, which is what his rhetoric is. All of a sudden it's not, we're rounding up immigrants on day one. Or maybe he's just passing that off to JD Vance. It's all I care about is drill, baby, drill, drill, baby, drill, drill, baby, drill. Yeah. That's what he's been saying in his interviews of late. And so all I can feel with that and see in my mind's eye with that is, and not saying I know anything, but to your point, Greg, but there's been his first term, the first presidency that we dealt with this guy. Remember that Ryan Zinke? And there was this huge push to undo the protections of our national parks and just start raping that land. and drilling for oil and doing all of this and privatizing it. And it's like that the land that they can't just do what they want with that our protected land seemed to really bother Donald and all the people around him. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that one thing I wanted to ask you, Jen, if I can. It just went out of my mind. Greg, you go, and then I'll remember.
I was going to say, you were talking about people not being protected, but I think we can all rest easy knowing that the CEOs who are feeling a little bit, scared, have all been taken good care of by the governor of New York and the mayor of New York City and other people to make sure that their feelings are, they feel safe and secure at this time. Yeah. I think I can speak for everyone. Our hearts go out to the multi-million-dollar CEOs at these asshole companies. So,
the robber barons will be safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tom Buchanan always wins, man. Always.
Yeah. Where would we be without them? Yeah.
So
go ahead, Greg.
Did you remember what you were going to say?
No.
Okay.
I'm getting close to it. I'm so sorry, everybody.
It's going to be good when you remember.
This is my old age.
I'm thinking about rhetoric. Like if you're Biden, okay, and you have now 30 days or whatever it is left, from a rhetoric standpoint, what would you do? Because it seems to me that what they're choosing to do is minimize the risk right now. That seems to be a collective, let's just make it seem like everything's okay and maybe everything will be okay. And is that the right move, or should they be more forceful with this? And what do you think? What are there historical examples of rhetoric that address this? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. The fascinating thing is that for years, Biden was telling us that Donald Trump was an existential threat to the nation and to democracy in America and to the nation's future, calling him an authoritarian, calling him a fascist, criminal, all of those things, all things that are accurate as far as I can tell. And so it's very odd for him to have gone from, here is this threat to the nation to then, and now we are going to have a normal, peaceful transfer of power. And it's confusing.
Yeah.
And, on the one hand, of course, we all know from Timothy Snyder, we do not give up in advance. We do not capitulate. And so it very much seems as though Biden has chosen the route of capitulation, as with, the news organizations and, of course, the robber barons and all these other folks. And so it's confusing and can be demoralizing and all of those things. That's one way of thinking about it. And sometimes I think about it that way. And then other times, more my LOL nihilism, right? Right? Like that's the roller coaster I'm riding. I'm like, good job, Biden, because obviously he is a threat to democracy and an authoritarian and a fascist, and he wants to destroy the American government. And I guess let him do it, right? And then history will judge. I don't know, right? It's on him, right? There's nothing really that we can do. And so it just depends on where I am on the roller coaster, because sometimes I'm like, you capitulator. I cannot believe you would do this to us. And other times I'm like, let it burn, right? Like it wasn't a democracy anyway, right? It had the potential to be more democratic. Maybe like we didn't have the balls to break the machine, but maybe that's what needs to happen. It needs to break. And then once it's broken, then we rebuild it on, not slavery and not fascism, right? It's always been built on those things. It had the promise of being more democratic, but if they didn't want that, they're going to break it. Okay, like let it be broken and then we will rebuild, right? We'll swoop in. There's going to be a power vacuum and then there you go. We just are smarter and we have plans and we make it work. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I go between the two things all the time.
My hesitation with the latter thing, is it doesn't tend to go that way. If we're looking to examples like, the Soviet Union into Russia, it doesn't, once you have an oligarchy, once you have a mafia state, which is what that is, it doesn't tend to throw that off requires, what I'm saying, it's like, okay, then it's broken and we rebuild. There's no we getting in there.
Well,
that's my concern. It's like,
yeah.
That takes, that's either French Revolution or, the Romanov stuff. There's a whole other arc to that. So I find the capitulation being we'll just come back and form, like treating this moment like it's just, Americans been in bad things before and we'll have another chance at the election. And it's like, no, that's not, this is the thing. You all knew this was the last one. So I don't know. I don't have much faith in that. That's just where I'm at.
But I see what you mean though. But go ahead, Jen. Go ahead.
Oh, well, but for folks that study social movements, for folks that study authoritarian regimes, and authoritarian regime stability and democratic erosion and, all of those things, which, I don't study all of that exactly, but I read a lot of that stuff because I'm interested in it and it's related to communication democracy. For those folks, what they find is that democratic regimes are actually quite stable. And more stable than authoritarian regimes are. And so an example like Russia or whatever, they didn't have democratic practices to draw upon. And so usually if a nation has a history of democratic practices, then it is more likely to keep those democratic practices, even if they go through, sort of hiccups and sort of regime changes. And so it isn't necessarily all or nothing. There's some really great folks that study democratic erosion. And if you haven't had them on your show, I'm sure you and your audience would just love to talk to them. I can put you in touch with some folks that I know.
Please.
Yeah. Like really great.
That's a
really
great
good stuff.
Conversation.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
To your point from before, Jen, I think that if we go back even and look at American history, like I'm not talking about individuals capitulating, but just in a larger scale sense, we talked about McKinley and his tariffs, and then McKinley gets killed and Teddy Roosevelt comes in and whoop, all this great shit happens.
And that's how we got our parks.
Yeah.
That's how we got our parks.
And then the Great Depression happens and then FDR comes in and boom, we have the New Deal, right? So they took advantage of these moments where maybe the powers that be didn't want it that way. And, as a great philosopher once wrote in a book that I read, when you have revolutions, which is what they're trying to do right now, what they want is probably not going to wind up what they're getting. All that they will succeed in doing is destroying the existing form. And it's probably going to be somebody else that's going to swoop in and save the day. And I know that this is correct because it's in the Unabomber manifesto and they keep quoting it.
Unabomber is good, actually, I hear. It's really interesting. If you look at all of the protest movements like the Arab Spring and things like that in the 2010s, this, so-called like Facebook revolutions and things like that, a lot of those countries did not end up with stable democratic regimes. And that's because they didn't have a plan, right? And so they got all these people to go into these public squares and to protest, and they were able to topple these, autocratic regimes, but they didn't have already an infrastructure and a plan like put in place. And so, of course, they created a power vacuum. And of course, power vacuums don't last. Somebody's going to swoop in who is even more autocratic. And that's what happened in most of those places. And so, it's the lesson is not, not to topple the autocratic regime, but it's to have a plan. Oh, I've made myself go fuzzy again. Hang on.
I think I blame the Russians.
I blame the Russians.
Yeah.
I love that, Jen. Okay, I remembered, guys. If I can ask you one more question before we move on to our next thing, unless you have something more. I wanted to get your take on these lawsuits that.
That's what I was going to ask. Good.
Oh, okay. That Donald is launching into now the pollster because that's about he's rewriting. He wants to rewrite how stop how people are talking about him, even factually, especially factually, and then find new ways for things to and really punish people who said the things that he didn't want to be said.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it was, from ABC News to now this pollster in Iowa. So that insistence on owning the alternative history and pushing for that, his insistence on that. I just wanted to get your take on that.
This is what autocrats do. It's what they've always done, right? So they always try to control the discourse. That's how they rise to power, is through controlling the platforms, by putting pressure on the media to cover them the way they want, by silencing the media, by silencing professors, librarians, right? Like all of those are done systematically, have always been done. You want to control as much as possible what people are allowed to say, because then, of course, you can control what people are allowed to think. And so Donald Trump has always been in the image management game, whether it was, in the 70s and 80s and 90s, he's always been about marketing and branding himself and, talking to the tabloids and whatnot, trying to get, things written about him in a way that he liked. He certainly didn't stop, even when he was still president, after the insurrection, after January 6th, he did this ridiculous, hilarious sort of highlight reel where he tried to go to all these places and talk about all of the wonderful things that he has done, in his term of office and things like that. Right. So he's always trying to set the narrative. He's always engaged in frame warfare, where he's trying to frame reality, set the nation's agenda, which, bracket like Elon Musk is also a narcissist who enjoys the power of setting the nation's agenda and the frame warfare. Right. And so these two right now are coordinating and cooperating, but that's not going to last long, because two narcissists may enter, but only one will leave.
I love it.
And so that's not going to last, right? But so, the authoritarian, the autocrat always wants the agenda setting power. They always want the framing power. They want to define reality, whether that's through, writing history and rewriting history, putting up statues of themselves, right? Like, dear glorious leader, we cannot ever take your name in vain. Like, whatever it is, these are the practices of autocrats. And so if you were, unsure if Donald Trump is an autocrat, this is one way you would know, right? Because in a free society, you don't try to control history. You don't try to control facts and reality. You let people think for themselves. So he's I think, sort of accurately identified, especially for the population, where he has control of the discourse, because he's not getting the challenges from journalism that we would hope, only from historians, and sometimes they're trotted out and other times they're ignored. But he understands, I'm going to take this into a court, and if I can get them to fold, then I can say I'm innocent, or this was wrong. He's using the courts in that way, as the civil courts in that way, and he's always done lawsuits in that way to reframe and reality, and history. Yes, absolutely. And I mean, and that's why he's attacking the people who were on the January 6th committee. Yeah. Right. I mean, and so, again, to bring it back to myself, right, like, as a person who wrote a book about Donald Trump and told that history, as a person who contributed to the January 6th committee, right, gave a statement that's quoted in the final report, I'm not high on the list, but I'm, it's one of those things that I think about, right? Like, is he going to come after me because I wrote a mean tweet about him? Maybe. right?
Maybe.
And it's that maybe that I think has everybody so freaked out.
Yeah. It's not just him too. They're all litigious in this way. And Kosh Patel said flat out that this is what they were going to do. It's Devin Nunes, it's Kosh Patel, it's Trump, it's
Peter Thiel,
Elon Musk, it's Peter Thiel, it's Mike Flynn. This is what they do. And maybe the lawyers that are filing these suits, maybe we can do something with the bar associations, can do something that disbar these people immediately when they do shit like this, and that would discourage the filing of. I don't know enough about the law to know this. I'm by no means an expert, but it seems to me that if you have to pass the bar, that the bar should do something. In these cases.
We may have talked about this before. I can't remember, but people who study authoritarianism, they distinguish between a rule of law state and a rule by law state. And so if you haven't heard that distinction, it's quite salient in this moment. A rule of law state, right, is a democracy, a republic, a place where the law is applied equally into everyone. The ancient Greek term is isonomia, which means equality before the law, and it predates democracy, like in terms of the evolution of political thought. And so isonomia is like the essential quality of a democracy. Rule by law is what autocrats do, where they take the law and they apply it capriciously for their own benefit, right? And so it's a little tricky in the way that they sound almost exactly the same, but rule of law is, of course, what we would want. Rule by law is what it looks like we're about to get. And so again, it's no surprise that Donald Trump would be doing this. He is an autocrat. He has an autocratic personality, and he certainly would like to rule as an autocrat. It's, one of the things that I've been writing threads about, for years, like prepare yourself for this. This is what it will look like, right? These are the things that we should be watching out for. And so
here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
So there's no laws then. If there's no laws, there's no laws. Why am I paying my taxes? No laws. Why are we doing
There
anything?
are laws, but you don't know if you will, right? So
there's no 14th Amendment. That doesn't count.
Right. And so here's the thing, though. It's the capriciousness that matters, right? And so you don't know if you're someone who is an immigrant, I got a speeding ticket. Does that mean I'm going to be kicked out of the country? Right? I have broken a law. Now, is that the kind of thing that in a rule of law state would get you kicked out of the country? You would guess probably not. But in a rule by law state where it's capriciously applied and you don't know, they can sort of trump up a charge and say like, oh, well, you got a speeding ticket, so you got to go. Right? That's the kind of thing that we're talking about, where you cannot predict. And that's the whole thing that we've been, sort of talking about for this whole show is like, when you can't predict the future, you don't know how to act. And so you become very careful.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that I have in my brain wanted to do rule by law to help democracy thrive, because I feel like some of the people that are violating ethical codes right now should be thrown out of the country. And that brings us to our next topic.
I'm
Elon
putting
Musk,
on the
man.
clock now, Jen, if you don't mind. Will you stick around?
I'm going to stick around, but I think I got blurry again. Did I?
You got
You
blurry.
did.
Fix your blur, and then I'll start the clock. I
See
like
this
this.
way.
I like
Look
this.
at-
Your palm.
Nobody used my handprint for. Did that work? No. I don't
A
yeah.
know.
little bit.
Yep. No.
There
you're good.
it is.
It
All right,
works.
here we go. Here's the clock.
Sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, let's talk about this guy.
I don't like him.
What my thing is I feel like he is, and I thought this, I was trying to think of the words, and I'm like, he's a clear and present danger to not just the United States, but like global democracy and life on Earth, frankly, with all the crypto, AI, resource.
He wants us to move to Mars.
Yeah.
Man, he didn't care about life on Earth.
And then Adam Kinzinger tweeted out the same thing, clear and present danger. So I feel like people are at least talking about it and seeing him in those terms. But
I have enjoyed all the trolling that I have seen online of, that he's the actual president and Trump is the maitre d' or whatever with something on a platter. Like you probably have seen these memes.
Yeah. It's true, though.
Two narcissists may enter, only one
Only
will
one
leave.
will leave. I was thinking about the controlling the discourse in our last segment, what you were, with the thing of the lawsuits and all that. And the whole government, the near government shutdown, which right before we came on air, it looks like it was averted.
Chaotic losers.
Yeah. Mark Cuban did a Blue Sky post where it was like, if he gets rid of, because Elon was the one forcing this shutdown.
Yeah.
The president, right? the one we didn't elect
Musk.
because he's from South Africa, or it would have been him. So that it was a way to sort of say, okay, no, shut it down, because then when people don't feel any problem from that, he can turn around and say, see, you don't need these agencies. You don't need these employees. This is this stuff here that you didn't even know that was something we were paying for because it has no meaning in your life. We can cut that. It was a way of pushing for that. So that seemed like it had an agenda. Then because it all got resolved, it was like, oh, that was just a bullshit way of just controlling the discourse yet again. That's all anybody was talking about. He showed that he could send some posts on his stupid shitter site that he bought and have power and control over what was being talked about as news.
Yes. I talk about this a lot, but the agenda setting power used to belong to the mainstream legacy media, right? There was a cooperative relationship between the executive branch, the White House, and the mainstream media, and they sort of coordinated and cooperated to set the nation's agenda. And they lost the agenda setting power. They lost the agenda setting power probably around the time when the iPhone came out, right? When everyone had, like complete access to information and could be producers of information at any time. And so for a while, Twitter was the place where the agenda setting wars happened. That was where everyone went to talk about what was important. You could make something trend and make it important, right? And you probably have both had the experience where you tweet something and it becomes a news story and you're like, whoa, like I didn't know I was going to be quoted in the news today, for saying something on Twitter. It's weird, right? Like if you're not used to it. And that's why Musk bought it, right? That's why he bought that thing, because he wanted the agenda setting power. It's unclear in this moment, if it is still the place where you go to set the agenda, because so many people have left, right? The conversation there is so tainted and driven by whatever Musk is, creating algorithms to make happen. And so, he wants to control what we talk about. Like if you have the power to do that, like that's quite a power, right? To get a whole nation, a whole world talking about what you want them to talk about. Like if you can imagine the kind of power hungry, power mad person who becomes the richest person in the world, right? And still wants more. The ability to set the nation's agenda and the world's agenda is incredible. It's priceless. And so, so what we saw this week is him fucking around, right?
Just trying to set, Rosebud.
Just trying to see if he could do it.
You will all talk about me, and 98% of you will hate me.
Yeah.
Seems
it's weird,
me.
right?
Yeah,
like it's crazy, but it makes sense, but it's weird.
It's a lot of ketamine is what it is. And there's got to be an Achilles somewhere, that can be found and exploited.
Hair plugs.
Can't be that hard.
I think it's the hair plugs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a reverse Lex Luthor thing. Like, if we can make him get rid of the hair, he'll revert back to chaotic good. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's definitely chaotic evil. But, this the thing is that the troll only has power if you let them troll you, right? And so, right, when they were like, oh, we're going to shut down the government, I was like, oh, does that mean Trump can't be inaugurated? Because that's not a problem for me. Is that a problem for you? Right? Like consequences. There are other things. And so, like I said, I refuse to be trolled.
I think that's a good takeaway from this.
I think that's a great takeaway.
Refuse to
be trolled.
I think that's going to be the title of the episode, because I try to think of these clever titles and I couldn't even think of one. So this is just like, we can't even. That's what
I grew up with an older brother who is like an original troll. Right? Like he has been in the video game business since the 1980s. Like he, all the things, all of the trolley things he did to me my whole life. And so I am perhaps uniquely prepared for these robber baron trolls.
Torment?
Yeah.
I'm told that I'm blurry, but I think that's because I had a smudge on my thing.
I maybe smudged myself. But so I may be uniquely prepared for resisting the trolls, but I refuse to be trolled.
Okay. We're going to adopt that. I think that's that might even have to go up on our wall.
Yeah. Refuse to be
trolled. The traitors are easy to spot.
Yeah.
Refuse to be trolled.
Refuse to be trolled.
If you realize that the paradigm is to get the LOLs out of the libs, who care too much, right, about defending the norms and the institutions and whatnot. Like, it's so easy. Well, like, oh, okay, well, let's see what happens if you really do shut it down at Christmas time.
Right.
I don't think that's going to work out great for you. You're worried about me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The thing is with him, it's not just in the United States, because he's in Germany now, literally backing the neo-Nazi party.
I know.
He's in Britain with Farage.
Don't let him troll you.
It's not, but it's trolling, but it's also not. Like
it has an impact. Like, I know.
We can't completely dismiss it as troll. Like that's definitely part of it. But he's also there. He's not sitting in his office tweeting. He's fucking right next to Trump in every photograph that we see. He's right next to he's so close to Mike Johnson. He may as well be, I don't know, fill in the blank.
Narcissist one and narcissist two. They cannot, they're going to do this.
Yeah. By the way, my money is on Trump in that narcissist fight. I just want to go.
Yeah, the thing, right? Like, I mean, there is sort of an interesting, like meta spectacle that we can enjoy, like personally, right? Which is, how does that play out? Like, we know how autocrats like strategize to coup-proof their regimes, right? To make it so that, everyone has to be loyal to them. There's all kinds of history and research about that. We know what the autocrat does, but which one of them is the real autocrat? Like, which one has the real power? We don't know.
I don't think it's the goober with the rockets and the dreams of Mars.
They both have rockets.
They both have rockets. It's not the goober. He's too ridiculous. He's a skipping dipshit. He is just he's skipping dipshitting all over the place. It's not, it's obscene that this man has the money he has. He has it all from scamming our government.
Yeah, he didn't earn it.
And these contracts, and all that needs to be ripped out from underneath him. And then he will just fold. He's just he's a child. Not that I'm not saying Donald is some kind of mature, I'm not trying to contrast
it's a different level of malevolence.
He's a pipsqueak.
It's a different kind of malevolence. But I still, the guy is a clear and present danger. He is a national security risk. I said this a lot when he bought Twitter, that he never should have been allowed to do that. We screamed and yelled about it. Nobody listened to us as usual, and now we're all fucked. So, I don't know.
I liked your way of deciphering the acronym for the doggy committee.
Oh yeah, let's see. Here it is again.
All back. There we go.
Dumb overlords grifting everyone.
Maybe it should be dipshit overlords grifting
Oh,
everyone.
yeah. See, we're workshopping this. We're workshopping.
Yeah.
See, overlords was I did this before, but that's your word, Jen. So
yeah. I've been calling him the overlord for a long time. When he tried to buy Twitter, it was clear he wanted to be our overlord.
Mm-hmm. And I, for one, welcome the insect overlords. Like to remind you,
we're all going to be living in our Trump towns on what used to be national land.
Oh God!
We should be
wait.
so lucky. I don't know.
Did I ever tell you all that the only time I found Trump directly answering the question of when he thought America was great, it was during the robber baron era, the Gilded Age? Did I ever tell you that? I wrote a thing about it.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
I think I remember that.
It's the only time. And nobody paid attention to that because the news was like David Sanger and Maggie Haberman were doing the interview with him. And the news that came out of the interview was America First was his program. And so that was what everyone paid attention to. But the other part that, if you read the transcript, that's really
is that the thing when he was talking about we like McKinley, the great Mount McKinley? That was the quote.
I don't even remember if McKinley came into it. This was like in late 2015, 2016.
This is McKinley one.
Yeah. This was early. This was like in the first campaign.
There's always that paying attention to the wrong part of the transcript.
Yeah.
And we had it with the whole, there's two people I think Putin pays, and everybody got stuck on that, robot on Trump. And it was like, why didn't you look at what they were talking about beforehand? They were talking about how they had just gone in and witnessed what Russia had done in Ukraine. And they'd seen all the evidence of the fake news that they created, all the disinformation, and how they used propaganda to actually, Russia did to try to usurp a nation. That's how they were able to get Crimea, and they were going on from there. And so they all knew how the tools worked to the machine. Somebody lifted the hood and showed them the whole thing, and they were in. Paul Ryan was like, we need to do something about this, right? That was back in that moment before. And then they all capitulated. Talk about capitulation. Oh my God. Holy crap.
Another example is the Steele dossier, when everybody
and the Steele dossier is another example.
And talked about nothing else that was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just so easy. Trump must be like, this is so easy. I'm just going to throw this shiny toy.
So easy.
A fucking laser beam in my cat.
So predictable.
Yeah,
it's like our vulnerabilities are so easy to gain.
Yeah,
and this is the thing that it fascinates and terrifies me. But it's the thing that they all know, right? They figure out exactly what our weaknesses are, the systems, our cognitive weaknesses, our emotional weaknesses, institutional weaknesses. They figure out exactly where we're vulnerable, and then they exploit those vulnerabilities. And it's easy to do once you think like that.
Yeah.
That's why the Russians, when they showed up in the Oval Office, were laughing their ass off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As they're planting whatever bugs are probably.
But I refuse to be trolled, especially by those guys.
Do not be trolled. It's beneath you, right? Like they're not even good enough to troll you.
Thanks, Jen, for that.
I find it so funny. So now this is the part of the show where we do announcements. Before we release you for the evening and the weekend and the holiday, do you have any announcements for us, Jen?
I do, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to make my announcement. I didn't get it A-okayed by the people. I think it's okay. I'm going to have my own show. I'm going to do a show. It's going to be our rhetoric. I'm going to do a rhetoric show.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to do a rhetoric show.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Wait, what's going on with your book?
This is the thing. So
I felt that. My core as a fellow writer. This is the thing.
I've had shit in my drawer for longer than everybody, so I can.
Yeah. So Greg, you and I talked about this. So it turns out that the major presses, like not the academic presses and maybe not even like the academic crossover presses, which are probably the places where I should be publishing anyway, but like the ones that go into the airport bookstores and things like that. Mm-hmm. Those presses, as I understand it, are tired of fighting the resistance. They're tired of publishing books about fascism and authoritarianism and whatnot. And so my agent is sort of talking to editors and is trying to figure out what they're thinking. And it's not looking good. It's not looking good. So
Rupert Murdoch owns HarperCollins, by the way, just,
right. Like I don't even know. So The overlords are in charge of those presses.
Why would they publish your book when they can publish Don Jr.'s sequel to Triggered and have somebody buy millions of copies that just sit in a vault that nobody reads? Yeah.
These
And
are
then
the
burn the
metrics
rest
that
of
we're
it.
fighting against. Yes.
It's just the whole thing is so fucking stupid. We're on a road to stupid. That's where we are.
But you know what? Readers are always going to read. Readers are going to read to try to learn and figure out what's going on. So, I mean, I think that we won't stop readers. Like, I know the fascists would like to stop readers, but that's what readers do. So I think we're going to be okay.
Well, the nice thing about books too is that they last forever. I mean, unless all of copies get burned, but usually that doesn't happen. So, you might write something 50 years from now, people are reading. Like I'm reading all this shit now for people were writing in the 30s when they were running away from Nazis. They probably were not thinking that in the United States, 80 years hence, this will be, important. But here we are. Great fun. Jen, thank you so much for joining us. Have a happy holiday, happy New Year, and I don't know. What's the opposite of how are you to send you away? That's how should we
be well. Be well.
Be well.
And likewise, I hope you get to enjoy all of the joys of the season.
Thank you, Jen.
All four of them. We will enjoy them. All four joys. So
all the joys.
And we'll talk more about your new show.
Yes.
So, you'll come back.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, Jen Mercieca, thank you so much for joining us. Have the best holiday. Happy New Year to you. We will see you in 2025.
Yay.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, do we have any announcements?
We won't be next.
Yeah, next week we're taking off for the new year. So we won't be, there won't be a show, but we might, maybe we can rerun a show in the spot. We tried that. Yeah. We'll rerun the show.
Over Thanksgiving. Okay, great.
We'll do that. That's a great idea.
So we'll rerun a show in the spot. So hopefully we can keep that trend going so that if we are off for holidays or some other reason, that there'll still be a chance for the community to come together. You guys will be able to still have a live chat and talk with one another. You just be hearing us say the same thing. But I feel like you have your own, our community has their own vibe going. They have their own
it's good. It's fun.
So maybe they can get together and share recipes, share what they got for the holidays, share what they are wishing for the new year, which brings us to our own holiday cheer, our final segment.
Do we want to talk about do we want to announce the Monday thing, the inaugural thing, or we want to wait on that? Because we have to figure it out.
We have to figure it out. So we're trying to figure something out. That's our announcement. We're trying to figure something out because
we're figuring something out. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Trying to figure it out. January 20th. We're trying to figure it out.
No after hours today.
There's no after hours tonight. Sorry, guys. We did it last time. But I'm back. I'm like, I finally am from tonight when we're done here, I'm off. So I am taking a full week and something off. And so I might be doing some under the covers. We'll see if I'm in the mood for it. But I finally got everything quieted down and done. I'm done running around. I'm in the house. It's snowing. I don't have to worry about it. The fridge is stocked. The pantry is stocked. I did all my Christmas shopping. I'm ready. I'm ready to hunker down.
All right.
Okay.
Hunker.
Holiday cheer.
All right.
What you got?
Well, what we wanted to do is come up with predictions for the new year.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. Predictions.
Okay.
Do you have predictions?
I don't.
I didn't think you did. I have some predictions.
I want to hear yours.
I'm going to tell mine.
I do, but let me hear yours.
2 of them are silly and one of them is a real prediction.
Okay.
I have 3. And then you can, Okay.
Okay.
So the first prediction, this is going to take place in 2025. Okay. AI will solve the crisis in the Middle East and end the war in Ukraine but the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar will never die. That's too much for AI to handle.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It can't resolve that. It can't figure that one out.
No, nobody can resolve that. So,
Yeah.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
Here's the second one is, after buying up all the competitors that there are, Amazon will announce plans to decentralize its warehouse operations and push a new policy where customers can go physically to the places to pick up their orders. And while they're there, browse for other goods that they might also want to buy in person. And Jeff Bezos has come up with an idea himself about what to name these new localized things. And he came up with shopping malls.
Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah, that's one. I think
what
what
a visionary.
It's true,
visionary.
right?
Yep.
You know, like I had my thing with my computer now. This is laptop number 3 that I've been through in the last month because I'm trying to buy my laptop before there's tariffs from China.
Yeah.
And I went around and around and around, and it's because I try to buy it online. I didn't just go to Best Buy. You know, you got to good things. You got to go to the store and get. And it struck me when I was in the mall. I'm like, how much longer is this going to last? Is it going to be a situation where there just aren't stores anymore, where Christmas shopping is all just online and stupid, and we don't even get to go to these little gift shops? We have a lot of nice little gift shops in New Paltz. Are they just not going to be there anymore in the future? I don't know. It struck me that we might be heading in that direction. I did not like that thought. I didn't like it. Yeah. All right, and here's the third one.
Okay,
this is a real one.
all right.
The bison, the I forget the word now. Sesquicentennial, the 250th anniversary of the founding of these United States is going to take place on the 4th of July, 2026. Donald Trump will no longer be president. He will not be president on that day. He will be not president by that time. I don't know why.
Expire?
I don't know. I'm
not making that prediction.
I'm just predicting that he will not be president.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have one like that.
What do you have? What you got?
No, I'm fascinated by that. You just did you do where did this come from? This is interesting to me.
What, my prediction?
Yeah.
I always predict that he's not going to be president. I did it in 2016 too. I'm like, he'll be gone by Thanksgiving. They'll impeach him. So, take it with a grain of salt.
Okay, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. Okay.
I think they're going to 25th him. I think they're going to 25th him. I think
I don't have the funny ones like you, but I have my things that I think are going to happen.
All right, let's hear it.
But that's 2026. You went to I'm just talking about 2025. Okay. I predict that extraterrestrial life will be confirmed in 2025.
Whoa. How will it be confirmed?
I don't know. I don't even know if it's going to be, mildew somewhere. It's like, there's too much movement in that direction. The simulation wants this to happen. And it's and I'm not saying that's what the drones are. And I know the alien is an op. I got it. Yes, please don't tweet that at me or put it in the comments. I understand all of that stuff. I also do believe that we're going to learn some crazy shit. I really do. There'll be something crazy. There'll be something crazy we'll learn in that lane.
I think that, you're obviously on something, because in this great vast multiverse, which goes on and on in almost infinitely in every direction, clearly the only life in all of the space is right here on this dumbass planet. Yeah. We've put Elon Musk in charge of things.
I'm not even saying it's alien is the wrong word. I'm not even, it could be.
No, you're saying, oh my God, we looked at Alpha Centauri and
something
we found,
with the reality as we know it.
Yeah.
Of this just being the one timeline, something big is coming. Some big piece of information.
I like it.
When Einstein came up with his theory of relativity and it rocked everybody. Something big like that is coming out of that realm.
I hope it's not AI. I'm so sick of this fucking AI stuff. Every commercial that you see now with the thing, they're like, it's the new phone with Apple Intelligence, or it's got Gemini, or it's got nobody wants this shit. It's like one of the VCRs that has like 1 million. You can program it to 17 different times no one ever did that. No one ever did it. I need 5 fucking buttons on the VCR. I don't need I don't need to. I don't want to learn how to program in Cobalt to fucking watch something on TV. I'm just going to put the video in and
put the video in. Yeah. Is it on a tape?
Slide it into the DVD, into the video cassette player.
The Blu-ray, your very fancy Blu-ray.
I want it into the VCR where I've taped all the Simpsons episodes, and I'm going to watch them. And that's okay. That's all that I want. I don't need to be programmed. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to hit record at the time when I'm going to record something.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
You have more? I want more.
I do. I have more.
Okay.
And this is coming from my mob stuff.
Ooh, okay.
I think that Donald is not going to be able to help himself. He's going to want something that he does and declassifies and declares, and is the guy that finally told everybody who shot JFK. I think he's going to go for it. I think he's going to declassify that stuff. He got held back from doing it before. I don't think he's going to. I think he wants that. He wants some kind of pop culture thing, and he wants it to be that. And it's Sam Giancana, and everybody's going to learn that. Okay. So I'm saying it here so that when it does come out, you can go, ah.
Wait, are you saying that Sam Giancana shot him?
Or well, or did
you saying that that's just what Trump will say?
I think that's what we're all gonna. I think that's what he's gonna declassify and release.
Now having you say that makes me think of the pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald, which if you look at them now, he looks like he's like some hipster who lives in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
I know. No, listen, I think Lee Harvey. I'm not the two bullet. The blah blah.
No. I'm going in a completely.
He shot him.
I'm going in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
He looks cool in the way that Luigi looks cool. In every bit, so it's like, he looks cool.
Oh, not to me. Okay.
If you go on the internet, you'll find that's what you find. Like the social media is awash in Luigi looking cool memes.
I understand. I just didn't. I can't go there with Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, to me, he's just
he's the original incel.
He's the original Cooper.
Yeah.
Okay,
but there's pictures of him where you're like, I don't know. He looks like a hipster. Anyway, did you have more, or are we done?
I have one more.
One more.
I predict this. I guess is a joke. I don't know, but it's not. No, this is real. I predict that in 2025, I'm going to fall off a horse and break something.
Oh, I don't like that prediction.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
No.
I broke my toe walking in the kitchen. I broke my finger putting my aunt's rollator in the back of the van. I am going to break a hip falling off a horse. I'm going to fall off a horse and I'm going to break something. It's going to happen.
Where's the salt? Throw the salt over your shoulder.
Throw the salt.
Whatever you have to do.
Saying, I don't want it to happen. I might not get on a horse because maybe the horse will just step on me. Something's going to happen. I'm going to break something. This is what's going to happen.
Okay. I don't like that. I don't like that prediction. Hopefully
that's my
the extraterrestrials will have come here by then and be able to heal you quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that should be the best thing. So,
yeah.
And I think that, first we should say to everybody watching, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, which is actually, I think today or tomorrow.
I think it's today.
Night of the year, right here, right now,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's gonna be a weird year next year.
It's gonna be weird.
But
we'll be right here, right?
We'll be right here. We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere because what choice do we have but just to get through this?